The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome, and thanks for joining us on the 3 essential priorities for smart business growth. My name's Peter Blash, and I'm joined by Lan Nguyen. I'm from Maverick Mentoring, and Lan is from Success Accounting Group. And together we have formulated the Success Business Accelerator. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce Lan to you. She's the founder of the Success Accounting Group, a successful Melbourne accounting practice down in Mentone and Springvale. And over 8 years, she's built a reputable chartered accounting firm with a couple of offices and a team of six staff and support members. So welcome, Lan. Good to have you on the call tonight. Hello, Lan. Where are you?
Hello, thank you everyone for joining us today. And we have an exciting webinar to really, collaborate on the 3 essential priorities for smart business growth. And I'm very excited to be joining Peter today with you tonight in discussing and dissecting what we can do better and to grow our businesses.
Yeah, essentially that's what it's all about. We've created the collaboration. We have 2 different businesses, and we see the need with our clients that we have for working in a way that enables people to build their businesses in a more sustainable and meaningful sort of way. And this is what we're doing with each other, and this is what we're doing sharing the webinars as well. Okay.
Before we start, can everyone just put in the chat that they can hear us loud and clear? So that we know that, if you can just say yes or no.
A little bit of housekeeping. I'll do some more housekeeping in a minute, but yeah, are we coming across? Yes, loud and clear, Lan. We are
Great.
being heard across the spectrum, which is brilliant. So thanks for the feedback. Okay, so let's move it along. Where are we? Okay, so this is what we're about. Lan, tell us, what are we about?
So we, as founders of Success Business Accelerator, have, myself as a chartered accountant and Peter as business coach. We've collaborated to come up with a mentoring program to really focus on the 5 keys to business success. I've dealt with over hundreds of business owners from startup to exit over the course of 16 years, and even Peter, probably even longer. So we've seen what works and what doesn't work for business success. And we identify that there are 5 key elements to growing your business. First one being numbers, insight into numbers, understanding your numbers and improving, which allows you to improve cash flow, manage cash flow and profitability. Number 2 is focus, which is really, identifying your vision, goal, and mission. Why did you start the business? Your why in the business is as equally or even more important than making the profit or the money itself. Number 3 is on top is strategy and tactics. So really systemizing your business to scale and working smarter in the business. Number 4 is, as you can see, the superheroes partnership. So what you can rely on and partner who you can partner with to grow your business in the long term. The last one that we're going to focus today is about growth. So what's the goal, or how do we grow our business that in a streamlined and strategic way? Because everyone wants to grow their business, whether it be at startup or whether it's after 5 years you want to grow. But how do you grow your business in a timely and strategic way? So that would lead us to the next slide, Peter.
Yeah. So before we move on to it, so thanks for that, Lan. So I want to encourage everyone on the call to become an attentive listener, to get involved in the conversation. We won't be stopping at any time through the webinar for questions. What we'll do is answer the questions as you got them. So if there's something that you want to know as it comes up, type in the question box and ask the question. It's much better to get involved in the conversation and get your questions answered straight away. And I'd encourage you to take the time in this webinar to really put it aside as part of your business building strategy, to get involved in your own learning. And as always, ask the questions and find out, the nuances of what's going on and what you're learning, how can it apply to your business. So it's not just about us giving you stories and great examples and strategies. It's how can you apply them to your business. So ask the questions, get the little bit of knowledge, the knowledge that we've got for you, and then just really integrate it into your business as you go. Because this is what it's all about. We're here to work with you. And part of the strategies that we talked about, or that Lan talked about, is what we're doing here. It's the partnerships and the strategic alliances that you can form with like-minded business owners, people who you can strategically align with, that can build your business, and in turn you build their business, and together everybody's successful. So that's our overriding theory and what we look to achieve every time we get together. Okay. So, Lan, do you have something you want to ask us?
Oh, yes, I do have. And we're going to go to a poll now. And really, as business owners, we always want to grow and change. But during the process of change, we will experience that we've seen 5 common emotions during that change. One of them being confusion, which you can, anxiety is the second one, resistance of change is the third one, frustration is the fourth one, and a sense of false starts, meaning that you have an idea but you go ahead and start and there's not the actual result that you wanted. So Peter, if you can if everyone activate the poll, and if the crowd tonight can choose one that you've experienced the emotion the most, probably this week or in your business, and just select to see what is the most common emotion, and then we'll have a look at
yeah.
the results.
So we're just going to leave that up for a couple of more seconds so you can have a chance to think about it and then type in your answer. And right, I'm just going to close it all down. So yeah, I just encourage everybody to put in their response and then just connect a little bit more with it. So we're just going to close it off. Okay, so the overriding, I'll give you the results here. So the, what do we got? The overriding emotion that people are experiencing is confusion, and frustration comes in second, and false starts is probably about fourth on the list, and resistance is coming in third. So confusion, frustration, resistance, and false starts is where the poll has been sitting right now. So that's interesting. Okay, Lan, do you want to talk to us a little bit more about that?
So Peter, if you can put up the managing complex change
oh yeah,
slide.
Okay, yep, I didn't notice it changed. There you go. Okay.
So as you can see, so sorry Peter, can you repeat so what was the most dominating emotion?
Confusion was the biggest emotion that people are experiencing. Then it was frustration, okay. Then resistance, and then false starts.
So confusion, as you can see, is out of the managing complex change, which is a Nosner's model for change, and he demonstrated that if you are experiencing confusion, well, the perfect one is to have the vision plus the skills, plus the incentives, plus the resources, plus the action plan equals to change. So that if you have all of those skill set, then you would have the ultimate growth in your business. However, if you're experiencing confusion, that means that your vision has been is not clear, or it was clear at the start, but now after a number of years in business, you're stuck in the rut of growing, working in the business, and your vision becomes not looked at and so that's the reason for the confusions. So why am I working 60 hours a week? What for? What's the purpose? Um, is that something that you see often in your customers, Peter?
Yeah, when I'm working with clients, there's a variety of those emotions that are coming up, and it lends itself to some have got great businesses, but they haven't got a vision. They've been so busy working the business because they've just got a product or a service that they've been doing and it's sold well for a while that they've actually lost sight of the vision, and then the business starts to take that downturn. And then
Yeah.
I work predominantly with two types of clients, either an established client or with a startup. And what I notice with the startups or people who are young in business, that they have a lot of false starts. And those false starts ultimately come back to the action plan because they're so busy doing the vision, the skills, getting the incentives, getting the resources, that when it comes time to actually action the time, to launch the project, to do their marketing plan, whatever it is, that it's the false starts that's happened because they haven't quite got their timing right. And that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at today in this webinar is the three essential priorities, and the ones that we've identified that really bear some exploration on them is, one is the timing, which is the false starts we talked about, and I'll go into all of these in a bit more detail. The other one is exploration and exploitation. So in the work that Lana and I have done and continue to do with clients, it's these areas that are essential for growth. It's not about, we're not here to give you the latest technique in terms of the latest program. It's not about the latest fad. It's not about any of this. It's about working with you so you can achieve market penetration and market domination in a way that you're not competing over price. Because in your business, if you're competing on price, it's a really fast trip to the bottom. So it's really identifying what is it that you do and what is it you do so well that your competitors can't compete on price, because your offering is so different that your value proposition stands apart from your competitors. And this is what these areas are looking at: the timing, the exploration, the exploitation, is enabling you to stand out in the marketplace, because it's not about impressing your customers. It's about impressing your soon-to-be customers, your prospects. They're the people that you want to attract, and it's really getting into their minds and really getting to understand who your ideal client is and what it is that they're after, and understanding the marketplace that they're in that sets it apart. And these are the areas we want to look at, okay? Because there's so many programs and stuff, you could go on forever and end up with confusion, which is not where we want to be. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the next slide really demonstrates the 5 factors in success across, over more than 200 companies, to identify, what's the main reasons of success for that company, the importance of, and voila, the top one is being timing, and I'll let Peter elaborate on what the factors mean, and why timing stands on top.
Yeah, thanks, Lan. Yeah, this is research that's been done by Bill Gross over in America through his business called the Ideas Lab. And they work primarily with startups and young businesses to help them launch and to get their business off the ground. And so after a while of working with so many businesses, he started to ask the question of going, why are some successful and some not? And he's had some businesses that have been a raging success and others that have been a raging failure. And it hasn't been about the funding. It hasn't been about the endorsements. It hasn't been about a whole lot of factors that you would go are crucial. What they found when they did the research, they looked at companies they've worked with, they looked at with companies that they haven't worked with and conducted similar surveys. What they found, it was the timing. Okay, it was the timing was the number one thing. It counts for 42% of the difference between success and failure. And okay, so team and execution come in second, and the idea, which is the differentiality of the idea, the uniqueness of that idea, actually came in third. Okay, so what he's done isn't absolutely definitive, but it's not to say that the idea isn't important, but it really surprised me that the idea wasn't the most important thing. Okay, sometimes it mattered more when it was actually timed. Okay, so I'll give you an example just to put some context in it. Okay, so I assume that we all know of Airbnb, the company that virtual company that rents out rooms across the planet. You can go anywhere from a bed, a bed to a house to a palace. People are, renting out their rooms and their accommodation all over the place. Now, for Airbnb, well, there was a whole lot of smarts that went into it, because at the beginning, the question was, because a lot of investors passed over Airbnb in the beginning when they were getting ready to launch it and they were putting it out for investments. A lot of people passed it by and said it's not going to work because no one's going to rent out a space in the home to a stranger. But of course, as you know, people were proved wrong. But one of the reasons it succeeded, apart from a good business model, a good idea, great execution, it was the timing. The company came out right during the height of the recession when people really needed extra money. Okay, and that maybe helped people overcome their objection to renting out their home to a stranger. All right, and then the same thing with Uber. Uber came out, incredible company, incredible business model, great execution too, and the timing was so perfect for their need to get drivers into the system. Drivers were looking for extra money. It was very, very important. Okay, so I would say execution definitely matters a lot. The idea matters a lot. However, timing matters even more. Okay, so the best way to really assess timing is to really look at whether consumers are ready for what you have to offer them. Okay, so as business owners, you've got to ask yourself, are the people that you want as clients ready for you? Could it be a timing thing? It could be a seasonal thing. You've got to really understand your market, understand the people that you want to take on as clients or you want to have purchase your product. Because timing is everything. Because further into Bill Gross's studies, he was saying that he had brilliant businesses that just didn't make it. Everything was perfect except the timing wasn't right. Okay, so some of these highlights that are here, you take them on board and start to investigate them even further, and it's going to make a massive difference to how you run your business and the results that you're looking for. And what it does, it's the underlying aspect of this is know your market, know your client, and to have no emotional attachment to your product or service, okay? Because if you're so emotionally attached that you can't reason beyond it and you've just got to do it because you're so in love with your product, well, then you're going to lose perspective, okay? You want to have just kind of like a step back, and I'll talk further about that as we get further into the webinar, but it's having that connection with the product, and at the same time you want to have that emotional disconnect so you can then time and sell to the people that you want it and that are looking for what you've got. Okay,
Yeah,
did you have any comments, Lan?
No, I think a lot of successful companies came out of after the GFC, where a lot of established companies were going bust, but a lot of startups came from it and did really well. So perhaps Facebook around that time, and obviously, yeah. So timing was probably one of the main things that helped generate such a success. And even like some of the established companies now, JB Hi-Fi, for example, is going bust, even though they've been established forever. But because of the online sales are more predominant now. So timing, I think, is a very crucial factor. So in business success.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay,
that was very interesting.
Yeah, okay, so let's keep going. So the question is it possible to run a company and reinvent it at the same time? Okay, so this gets down to your ability to innovate after becoming successful is always going to be the mark of a great business. Okay, so here are 2 reasons companies fail. You can write them down if you want. They only do more of the same, or they only do what's new. Okay, I'll repeat it. 2 reasons companies fail. They only do more of the same, or they only do what's new. Okay, so to me, the real solution to quality growth is figuring out the balance between the 2 activities, exploration and exploitation. Okay, both are necessary, but it can be too much of a good thing. And I'm going to explain this further, so hang in there with me. Okay, so we must strike a balance always between perfecting what we already know and exploring totally new ideas. So an example, I'm assuming that we all understand or know of Kodak. Great photographic company back in its day, dominated the market. It was leading the way. It was bringing in, the benchmark for photographic business. But it went the way of the dodo really, really quickly because it didn't adapt to the new ways that were coming on. Digital technology, so was the key for making it all happen. It's the key to its demise because it missed the digital revolution. Or simply that the presence of digital cameras made photographic film redundant while Kodak bosses buried their heads in the sand. Kodak's failure to adapt to the new technology stands in stark contrast to, it had resources and it had the brand, the reputation, its finance and technology prowess in digital marketing, but Kodak's failure lay in its strong inward focus. Kodak did too much exploitation, but exploration, they just didn't touch it. They could have gone wild, but they didn't. Okay, so let me explain a little bit more about all of that for you. Okay, exploration and exploitation. Simple slide. I try to just keep it nice and simple for us all. So let me explain what it is. Exploration is about coming up with what's new. It's about search. It's about discovery. It's about new products. It's about new innovations. It's about changing our frontiers. Okay, our heroes are people who have done exploration. I'm going to go back in time a little bit with you. So, you might know some of these names. Madame Curie, Picasso, Neil Armstrong, Edmund Hillary. Okay, even in Australia, we have a lot of our heroes are explorers, and they deserve to be. They were the pioneers. Because we all know that exploration is risky. We don't know the answers, and we don't know if we're going to find them. However, we know that the risks are high. Now, with exploitation, it's the opposite. Exploitation is taking the knowledge we have and making the good better. It's kind of like exploitation is about making our trains run on time. Okay, it's making good products faster and cheaper. It's not risky in the short term, but if we only exploit, it's very risky in the long term. And I think if we all have memories, even now of, different music groups that have been around forever and, they keep singing the same songs again and again until they become obsolete or even just pathetic. I mean, that's just the risk of exploitation. There's nothing new coming through. They're just sticking with the same old song and doing the same old thing. So if we take a long-term perspective, we explore. If we take a short-term perspective, we exploit. Okay, so you either have or know or seen small children, okay? And they're exploring all day. They're running around the yard doing things. They're playing imaginary games. All day, it's about exploration for the kids. However, as we grow older, we explore less because we have more knowledge to exploit on. And the same goes for our businesses. Businesses become, by nature, less innovative as they become more competent. And that's what we have to be careful of. Okay, so let's have a look at it all. This is one of the slide that's going to bring it all together. We want to be able to think in multiple timescales. Okay, so year one is the startup business. Okay, these are the years of business. So from year 1 up to year 10. Okay, so I think this chart's a good one because any company that you look at, taking a 1 year perspective and looking at the valuation of the company, the innovation typically accounts for only about 30%. So when we think 1 year, innovation isn't really that important. You've got your products that are there, it's brand new, everything's moving. Okay, you're moving ahead. Now take a 10-year perspective on that same company. Suddenly innovation and the ability to renew account for 70%. Okay, companies, they can't choose this. This is what has to happen. They need to fund the journey and lead the long term. Companies have to have the focus, and as part of their business plan, part of their business goals, part of their business strategy is what's the innovation. Okay, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in and what you're doing, these principles still are the same for each and every one of us. Whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a startup as a solo operator, it's the same thing. You want to have that innovation as part of your mantra within the business. Okay. And, you've got to be able to fund the journey and you've got to lead the long term. Okay. And that can become a bit of a worry for a business owner. Okay. And when I've worked with them, and very often I hear questions, sometimes phrased in different ways. However, the question is, how can I both effectively run and reinvent my company? Or how can I make sure our company changes before we become obsolete or are hit by a crisis? So doing one thing is difficult. Doing both well at the same time is art. Pushing both exploration and exploitation. So one thing I've found is only about 2% of companies are able to effectively explore and exploit at the same time in parallel. But when they do it, the payoffs are huge. And so even where we are right now, I talk about this because it's having the knowledge of what is our future. If we're aware of it, well, then we can start laying it out in the way that we structure the business and the way that we do business. Did you have something to say, Lan? Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to say what I wanted to know what kind of industries our the attendees are in today, because, for example, are you in the service, or are you in the manufacturing, or are you even in coaching? Just put your just put in the chat, because I think, for example, in the accounting industry, we hear of disruptive innovation from technology and in the cloud software, for example, Xero, which they predicted. So Xero is, if you don't know, is a accounting package for business owners and accountants, and that was introduced in New Zealand about 2 years ago, ahead of Australia. So it's been around about 5 years in New Zealand, and already they say that 45% of accounting jobs in New Zealand is gone. So we can, meaning that it's been replacing all the data entry level of accounting is replaced within the cloud. So you're left with, as an accounting industry, they have to reinvent. If you don't reinvent and become, instead of just a data key entry, and like, say, for example, our business, we have a business advisory model where we advisors to the client rather than just complete the tax return. So
yeah.
Taking that example and coming to the other businesses, so that's why my question: what industries is everyone in?
Yeah. So feel free to type into the question box your industry. I don't necessarily need to read out your name. Where I can if you want, but otherwise we're just really curious as to what industries that you're all in, so we can get a read of the group to know where people are sitting. So just feel free to type it in and let us know. And while they're doing that, is there anything else you want to say, Lan? Because otherwise I'll keep going through with this.
Yeah. No, I thought I shared that one because that was quite, it hits home. So I thought I'd share that. I'm sure it affects other industries as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got manufacturing and a service provider, and everybody else is really quiet and shy.
So I think manufacturing has had a lot of redundancy, so I guess that would be a lot. Okay.
Yeah, so the innovation that's there, because I'll give you a couple of examples, some of the bigger names that we know, so that have been able to do that balancing act of the 2%. So Nestle's created Nespresso. And now you've got Lego, who now are into animated films. And Toyota is creating their hybrid car, and Unilever is pushing into sustainability. It's looking at what you do and going, how can I be innovative? What is it that I can do differently? And then at the same time, stay within the company, holding the business format. So Nestle could have continued to make chocolates, and then they've gone and done Nespresso. And now Nespresso is a brand monster all on its own. However, it's still from the same family. Okay, so Bill's saying that manufacturing is much more complex innovation-wise. Yeah, and retail, wholesale. Kate is into retail and wholesale, fashion accessories. And every industry, thanks for typing that in, and every industry has its own challenges, and it's not the job of the webinar right now to answer all the complexities within each of your industries. It's to give you the bigger picture and create that awareness of going, hey, there's always going to be a different way and a better way of doing things, and it's just asking the question and then holding the ground until you find the answer. And what was it? I was with a client today, and then we were having a similar conversation and talking about this, and it was holding the space, asking the question and holding the space. And then when they go, I don't know, you're going, but that's okay. What if you did know? Let's make it up. Let's just, for the sake of the story, make up the answer. And then by releasing the imagination and taking away the need to be right or wrong, there's a whole just floodgate of information that comes out then, because instead of putting it through some sort of diagnosis, you then just go, okay, let's figure it all out. And it really makes a difference. And I've seen some great results come through with different clients. So let's keep pushing through. And this is what you want to be playing with through here. Let me get back to my notes. Okay.
So, Phil.
Yeah, so it's about the perpetual search trap. We discover something, but we don't have the patience or the persistence to get at it and make it work. So instead of staying with it, we create something new. But the same goes for that. We come in a vicious circle of actually coming up with ideas, but being frustrated. Okay, so another trap is the success trap. Kodak fell into the success trap. They literally held the future in their hands, but they couldn't see it. They were simply so good at making what they loved doing, they wouldn't change. And we're like that too. And we know something well, it's difficult to change. Bill Gates says it really well when he says, success is a lousy teacher. It seduces us into thinking we cannot fail when the challenge, and that's the challenge with success. It's to not get all enamored with it. It's to just go, okay, I've been successful, and then let's just keep going. So I think there are some lessons, and I think they apply to us, and they apply to the businesses that we have. Okay, so let's have a look. And this is what we were talking about in the previous slides, the exploitation and exploration. This is the 2% we were talking about. So in exploitation, it's having the short term, the efficiencies, the disciplines, the clarity of direction, the internal focus, the productivity focus. Exploration is about long-term innovation, flexible adaptation, empowerment, external focus, and growth focus. The sweet spot is balancing all that together. Lan?
Yeah, so I think a lot of businesses will probably look at exploitation, working in the business and getting productivity and efficiency. I think that's a lot of people try to do well. And when you're too busy in the business, the exploration, I find you forget to allocate time, and that's really working on the business. And so that's a very good slide.
Yeah,
I think
and both of these are necessary. You have to have exploitation and you have to have exploration. The real strength within business is what we've said, is finding the balance between the two, because you have to be efficient in what you do. You have to have the discipline. You've got to have the clarity of direction. And then at the same time, you want to have the flexibility so that you're not so locked into your processes, that you refuse to change. You have to be doing your processes and then go, what if we could do them differently? Is there another thing that we could be doing? Nestle started selling coffees. You know, it's a different way of playing around. Okay, it's getting ahead of what's going on and really understanding it. So let's have a look, shall we? 4 areas to play with. Okay, so these are some lessons, and I think when I go through all of these, that they're going to apply to us and they apply to our business. So the first lesson is to get ahead of the crisis. And any company that's able to innovate is actually able to also buy an insurance into the future. Okay, the other one, number 2, is to think in multiple timescales, which was that chart that I showed you earlier about the 2%. Okay, it's really good to take that 1-year perspective, look at it all, look at the value of the company, look at the innovation, but then also be aware that, is that going to get you through to year 10 within the business? What are the steps you want to take? And what are the direction that you're setting yourself, and how are you balancing that exploration and exploitation to get you there? Thirdly, you want to invite talent. Okay, I don't think it's possible for any of us to be able to balance exploration and exploitation by ourselves. It's a team sport. And I think we need to allow challenge. We think we need to be challenged. Okay, the mark of a great company is being able to be open to be challenged. And the mark of a good business is to constructively challenge. And I think that's also, to a degree, what, having an advisory board, having your mentors, having your coaches, having your experts around you that can invite the challenge and to bring it all together for you. And the fourth one is be skeptical of success. Okay, it's an old example, but I'm going to settle to you anyway. Okay. Back in the day, in the triumphant marches back in Rome, when the generals were coming back after a great victory, and they were having their celebration of being on the carriage and coming down the colonnade, riding into Rome on the carriage, they always had a companion whispering in their ear, "You're only human." And I think it's important that we have somebody behind us going, "You're only human. You've done something really great, something wonderful. You've changed things, and you're only human."
And
it's
very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard. What was it? I was sitting at listening to a concert maestro, a guitarist. He was just absolutely brilliant, and he did a performance, and at the end of it, he did a time of just talking to everybody, and he was saying, this is what I do. It's the discipline. He talked about the discipline and what he did, how he did it, everything he was looking to achieve. And he said, and do you know what? I still put my pants on one leg at a time. And it's that whole thing of just going, he studied, he disciplined, and, he lives a life the same as you and I in different ways. However, he's still human. And it's important to just keep that balance in what we do. Okay, so let's have a look, Lan. So we're back here. We've been talking about the timing. We've been talking about exploration. We've been talking about exploitation, the three essential priorities for growth within the business. Have you got some examples that you can share with us, some case studies of work that you've been doing with clients, Lan? We've talked about people overseas and all over the place. Let's talk about what's happening in Melbourne. What have you been doing?
So I think confusion was one of the top answers today that people were experiencing, and I've come across a customer that sold her business because she was left confused. She was a very successful, let's say, bookkeeper, and she had a goal set 5 years ago that she would achieve a certain amount of turnover, and she did achieve it within 5 years. And when she reached that goal, unfortunately she didn't set another goal. So during the time that after she achieved that goal, for the next 12 to 18 months she was experiencing, well, what do I do next? Why am I working so hard, 10 hours a day? Then she started having staff issues, and then she led to her selling the business. What lessons we can take from that is that confusion can be experienced from any state, and it's a lack of or the vision that you initially had is no longer relevant to your business. So having a vision statement at the start of the business is great, but you need to review it annually or quarterly with your business advisor, or accountant, or even a business coach. So I think if she had unfortunately, she came to us late and at the sale of her business, but if she had revised her vision, she may not have to be stressed and be confused and lead to the sale of her business. That's a lesson that we all can learn from.
Yeah, Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I just noticed a comment. Sorry, Bill, I wasn't scrolling through. So Bill was saying it takes 1,500 product ideas to get one commercial product. Wow. So Australia's innovation performance is appalling. These are comments by Bill. And thanks for that. 1,500 to get one up and going. That's amazing, isn't it? And then
It's good. Yeah. Okay. So that's really poor stats. Yeah. I wonder if Malcolm Turnbull's innovation policies are going to help with Australia.
well, you
We'll
can
have to
only hope.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what was it? I was working with a mechanic just last year, and he was having great. He did mechanics really well. He was doing bikes, buses. Like, he had a great spectrum of machines that he was doing. Identified his market and niche really well, but he was going through this whole period of frustration because it just was driving him crazy. He had the product, had the stuff that was going on, but his frustration was just appalling. And what it was, when we sat down and worked it out, his staff morale, his resources, which was his staff, were all over the shop. Everyone has had their little grumbles. We did surveys. We did interviews with them all to find out what's going on and what's happening. And we found that the staff morale was just all over the shop. So what we did, we implemented an organisational chart. We started to give because as the business grew, we hired people, and so people were coming in haphazardly and randomly, and he had a lot of staff, but they were all not aware of where they stood within the business in terms of their hierarchy, or what they didn't know what their future was, and all sorts of things were going on. So we brought in the resources. We brought in an org chart. We gave them job descriptions. We gave them a hierarchy. We gave them a future in terms of why they were with the business, and being with the business made sense. One person left, which was one of the aggravators or antagonists within the business. So then that was a bonus. Everyone else settled down, and that business has gone gangbusters because we identified that the area that they were suffering in terms of their resources, was their staff. Without staff, they didn't have anything. Solved the problem, and the business grew. And these are the areas for growth. It's having the opportunity to just ask yourself, what is it I can do, and what can I do differently? Is it my timing? Have I got the balance between exploration and exploitation, and bringing all these things together? And this is what we've been looking, and I hope that it's really come across in the message tonight, is that these are the areas within your business that that you can play in, and that can make a big difference to you. And part of what we want to offer tonight is, well, the Success Business Accelerator is the answer you're looking for. However, what we want to offer you, as our thanks for you being on the call tonight, is a complimentary 30-minute strategy session to sit down with Lana and myself, and we'll go through her knowledge of the numbers within the business, my area of expertise in terms of business strategy, and sit down with you and have a 30-minute complimentary chat about your business, where you are, and how what we've talked about tonight relates to you, and what are the gaps, and put together a plan of attack for you. Really put together some strategies that will move you along in terms of your timing, in terms of the business exploration and the exploitation. Have a look at the balance that's going on in the business, and really work with you to get the business that's going to have purpose and meaning for you. Lan, is there something you wanted to say as well?
Yeah, no, just I think that tonight we covered very interesting. So that, to innovate, especially if you're in the business of retail or manufacturing or even a service business, is sometimes, it's sometimes difficult to try to continuously innovate. But it's such a necessary to do that in order to be relevant, continue to be relevant to your customers. So I just like to thank everyone for coming and joining us tonight. It's been a very quick 45 minutes, and I do encourage you to take on Peter's offer, because he is a very experienced business coach, and he would quickly, after 15 minutes talking to you, you might be able to pick at least one or two things that will help your business take the next step in growing your business smarter.
Yeah,
so thank you again.
Yep, and I've sent everybody a link, so you can either copy it off the PowerPoint that you see on your screen, either do that, pick up the phone and give either myself or Lana a call, and I've also sent you a link in the chat box, and so you can go straight there and book a time that's suitable for you if you want, when you want to book that session as well and have a chat. Okay, this is our gift to you, to work with you to really build a business that is strong and sustainable. Our next webinar we'll be doing is in about a month's time, so keep watching Meetup. We'll also be emailing you to let you know when the next one's coming up, but we're going to be doing these each month, just presenting webinars on different aspects of business growth and different strategies that we can employ and that you can employ to grow your business. So on behalf of Lana and myself, I would like to say thank you very much for giving us part of your night tonight and sharing that with us and giving us the opportunity to speak with you and to just give you a little bit more knowledge along in building your business. So from me, it's good night. And
Yep, good night, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll connect with you again very shortly. So thanks, everybody.
Ciao. Bye.
Ciao.